Hey folks, I'm Chris and I'm your Commander Mechanic. With Battle for Baldur's Gate officially released, we're seeing new decks pop up in the wild, and this one's really wild. The new Neera Wild Mage is a 6-mana Izzet legend that basically acts as a personal possibility storm, with a few neat differences. Whenever you cast a spell, you may put it on the bottom of your library. This makes it optional, which is awesome. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This triggers once each turn. So yes, this ability is optional, meaning you don't lose spells that you really do want to cast. Also, the if you do clause means if you double up on the trigger, like with a Harmonic Prodigy, you don't get to do it again since you aren't putting anything on the bottom the second time. Third, the spell you reveal is cast, meaning creatures with cast triggers like Eldrazi aren't a waste as with traditional polymorph style spells. On top of all of this, Neera has a dump truck ass with 7 toughness, meaning she's going to survive a lot of damage-based removal spells. This is all super cool. I think there's a lot we can do with Neera. Let's look at some options. As I hinted at, Neera makes an awesome polymorph style commander without needing the tokens or actual creatures you normally would with a Divergent Transformations or Transmogrify. You can cast a small spell like a Brainstorm and spin it up into an Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, or an Emrakul the Promised End, or a Kozilek Butcher of Truth. You can also do this at instant speed once each turn, which is pretty great, giving the creature you wheel into pseudo haste if you do it at the end of the previous opponent's turn. That upside is also a downside though, since the spells are cast, so they can be countered. Be careful of that. If your opponents are representing stack interaction, it's basically a 2-for-1 if they counter the spell you random into. Be careful if your opponents are running stacks pieces as well. Something like a Deafening Silence means that you can't cast that second spell. It's gonna fizzle. But the prospect of getting a Blightsteel Colossus for the low price of a single mana, that's pretty rad. You'll want to pack plenty of top deck manipulation in order to ensure you're hitting what you want. So Sensei's Divining Top, Scroll Rack, or even Soothsaying are great options for taking the random out of random chance. One of the other really cool things you can do with Neera is essentially create a 2-card infinite combo. You need to build your deck a specific way, but it is possible. It starts with Neera and the new Displacer Kitten. Since Neera does not say the first spell you cast each turn, but instead gives you the option of choosing which spell, and by ensuring her ability only happens once each turn. As long as Displacer Kitten is the only creature in your deck, these two let you cycle through everything and create an infinite storm count. Let's look at how. With our 2 creatures in play, you start the chain by casting our first spell. Let's go back to that Brainstorm. We put the 2 cast triggers on the stack, Kittens and Neera's. We have the Kittens resolve first, blinking Neera. Now that Neera is new, we have a refreshed instance of once each turn. So once the first Neera trigger resolves, we wheel into a new spell and can put both triggers on the stack again, blinking Neera again and continuing to random through our library. From there, we get our storm count infinitely high since each of these are cast triggers, and mill our opponents out with a Brain Freeze, or ping them all down with a Grape Shot, or we could wheel until we hit a Mind's Desire and just cast everything in our library for free. It only works if there are no other creatures in our library though, because Displacer Kitten only blinks when you cast a non-creature spell, so otherwise these two just go wild. Now, I built a much more fair deck, which you can see below by following the links to my sponsor, Moxfield. Moxfield is the best deck building platform in the world, and they ensure I bring you these hot decks each and every week. With their ability to choose different printings, view mana curves, and even goldfish decks before you build them, there's no one else like them. Be sure to follow my Moxfield profile for brand new decks each week as I build them. There are a few ways you can build Neera. There's a consistent build that runs tons of top deck manipulation like Sensei's Divining Top. There are extra turn decks that run Time Stretch to ensure you're taking all of the turns at a much discounted rate. Or there are decks like what I built that just want to watch the world burn with big spells like Soulfire Eruption. I built a deck that's very spell heavy and is aimed at trying to get Neera to trigger on each player's turn. Since it only triggers once each turn, that does mean that you can do it on everyone's turn once. So this is an instant heavy deck with the majority of spells being low mana value like Consider, Gutshot, or Otherworldly Gaze, all aiming at turning a 1 mana spell into a 7+ mana spell. Payoffs include Arcane Endeavor, Animatu's Augury, or Volcanic Visions, massive spells that will wipe the board or refill your hand and ensure you're randoming into big payoffs. There are also some really amazing enchantments in the deck that go a step further to get you more value. Since the original and random spell are cast, Thousand Year Storm, Swarm Intelligence, and Shark Typhoon all ratchet up value significantly, making copies of spells or extra bodies on each cast. Go maximum damage with Fiery Emancipation as well, turning a spell that would deal 4 to 6 damage to each opponent into easily lethal in just a cast or two. I mentioned Neera's massive toughness previously too, which lets us use damage-based board wipes to great effect, like Hour of Devastation, Fiery Confluence, or even Inferno, all wiping out most of the board but leaving Neera's hefty 7 toughness intact. If you're looking for a little random in your life without affecting your opponents, because Chaos decks are received with mixed reactions, give Neera a try. Let me know what you think of this list, linked in the description, and let me know what you would add in the comments. And as always folks, good luck and have fun.